In my research, I actually have found that it's really interesting that in organizations, silos or units are kind of an inevitable reality in business. You need them because businesses have division of labor. You need to have units to have accountability and focus and specialization and all those wonderful things. But one of the biggest impediments in organizations today is to get these silos to work with each other. Now, in some contexts, you don't need to have them work with each other. You have different businesses doing different things, and it's not a big deal. But in most organizations today, as we are embarking, and you see the silos also, they're mostly organized around product and geography, in organizations at least. And then when you start to find a need to coordinate silos, that's where the problems arise. Because the nature of coordination or collaboration, if you will, that you need among silos today is much more than you ever did before. You need them to be able to synchronize activities, information, tasks, coordinate more than ever before. And while I began my research in business organizations, I found this fascinating. If you look at 9/11, 29/11 in India, or you look at the shooting of the Brazilian carpenter in the subway in London, most of these could have been preempted if only government silos had been working better with each other too. So you see, in fact, under the Obama administration, he's got these czars. He's put the auto czar, the health czar, hoping that one person can somehow connect even these disparate government entities. But I think connecting silos is much more problematic and much more difficult than that. And I think one of the things I have tried to do in my research is try to document what does it take to connect silos. And I think the starting point for understanding this is that if you try to connect silos, first of all, silo busting is a misnomer because you don't always want to bust silos. Sometimes you want to bridge silos. So one of the companies I studied was Jones Lang LaSalle, which had 3 business units, all selling to the same set of customers. And the customers are saying, wait a minute, can't you coordinate with each other? I'm a global multinational firm. Why don't you coordinate with each other? They put in place an account management function whose job was to coordinate. So sometimes you create this kind of patchwork of solutions where you say, I want to have a gatekeeper or a person, a czar, who helps me coordinate with these things. But sometimes that's not enough. And sometimes you need to find deeper ways to make it happen. So at Cisco, they have these things called councils. And the councils are basically cross-functional task forces whose job it is to create connection, collaboration across all the silos inside Cisco around a set of initiatives. Sometimes that's not enough. So patchwork sometimes works. Sometimes you have to say no. So in the case of Jones Lang LaSalle, they began this kind of patchwork around in 2000. By 2005, they said it's not working. So they had to break the silos. And then you start thinking about what are going to be my new silos. So what we end up doing is we replace one set of silos with another set of silos, and now we've got to coordinate those silos. You can see that in universities too. I mean, the more I look around me in organizational life, whether it's in my university or anywhere else, we have silos everywhere. And I think the challenge as a manager for us as a leader is to understand where and when and how will I bridge the silos? And if I'm not able to bridge those silos, at some point I may need to replace my silos with new silos. And I think as you think about it, it's important to understand there are 2 aspects of connecting silos. One is around what I call coordination across silos. The other one is around cooperation between silos. Coordination is about information sharing and task sharing. It's more mechanical. It's very important. Mechanical doesn't mean it's not important. Cooperation is how do you get people to actually work together in a meaningful way. That's more about, I would say, one is about mechanistic, one is more humanistic. And I think both are important. I don't want to say one is more important than the other. So if we think about connecting our silos, we have to think very carefully about how we're going to make it happen. In the context of some of my research and this recent book of mine, where I look at customer centricity, I find that companies that try to really orient their companies around customers, they have to also connect silos. Silo connecting, silo bridging, silo busting is a hugely important imperative for them to try to really make themselves customer centric. And so I think managing silos is, I think, a universal theme Religious organizations have to do it, governments have to do it, business organizations have to do it, universities have to do it. I think managing them is an absolutely important organizational imperative.